So what's it all about today? Well, you could hardly guess, could you? Well, here we are, back in Dragonland, I would say. Yes, Dragonland. After all, it's the year of the dragon. No, not the missus. It's the year of the dragon, right? And yeah, we should be respectful of the dragon. And there are some reasons why. Now, just a short while back, I received my price guide, you can see it on screen here, from Vintage Guitar. And I've had these every year for a very long time. I think 2000 and... yeah, they're in the house, they're not in the studio. But I bought this one out. And I also bought out, they're big heavy things, the 2021 version too. Because some while back I made a video about guitarists and collectors being afraid. Afraid what was going to happen to the value of your beloved instrument. Well, Tony, what do you mean? Well, they're always worth a fortune, aren't these sort of guitarists? Aren't they? Well, some years back, might have been a couple of 3 years back, or maybe 4 years, I forget exactly when it was, but it's on YouTube now, and there'll be a link down below showing you the guitars I looked at the time. Going back, I've had to write this down because there's so much of it. Going back to 2009, believe it or not, and I covered each guitar that was featured from 2009, 2011, 2014, 2021, and now we're going to cover 2024, just to see what's happened. And well, we didn't make any money, if you want the truth. It was all downhill all the way. Well, I think one made 100. Nothing made much, let's put it that way. So I thought it was time, with this nice new book coming in, that we should take another look at what guitars are really worth. Now, at the time, I did take into account things like exchange rates. I took into account most of everything, really, even a little bit of inflation and stuff like that. Now, I'm going to talk about these guitars of where they were, one at a time. I might put a strip across the bottom of the screen or not. But in any case, they'll be in the text if they're not on the screen. Now, the first guitar that I actually looked at was a Gibson Jimmy Page from 1995. And I've got its costs here, or what they sell them for at the time. And you might be surprised. So there's a picture of it there now that you can look at. And let me just cover the things at the time. Well, in 2009, it was worth $5,400. In 2011, it went down to $5,000. 2014, it went to $6,600. Don't ask me why. 2021, it upped up to $6,500. So we could say that had made $1,100 between those two times. But of course, then you've got to take the inflation off and the rest. So did it really make much? Who knows? But here we are with the 2024 edition. And these guys are telling me that a nice pristine one, which mine is, in 2024 is worth $8,750. Nice one. And it's a great guitar. Now, of course, that if you take the 2009 price away from the current 2024 price, that's $3,350 higher. And I don't think that, well, maybe the inflation has gone up that much. Put what you think down below, but I mean, I don't think it's gone quite that much. Particularly, bear in mind, from 2009 onwards until 2021, inflation was tiny. So I think overall that's probably made about $2,000, just as a guess. Well, let's move on to the next one. So there it is on the screen. Well, what is it? Well, It's a PRS Dragon 3 that had actually never been played, and it was still in its box and all that. So I don't think you could get any more pristine than that, and they made about 100 of them or something like that. Anyway, here are the figures and where we stand. Well, in 2009 it was $20,000. 2011, $19,000, so down it's spiralling. 2014 it was $14,000. Back up though in 2021, well, I say back up, it had gone down to $10,000 in its day. So it had spiraled right down. But here we are in 2024, and it's now back up to $18,000. So we could say that's a sort of minus 2K compared. Well, it's a minus 2K even if we don't take any inflation or anything like that into account. So it's probably minus 2.5K output. Yeah, that's a fair way of looking at things. Well, let's move on. This is next. Now, hey, when it comes down to this thing, I'm okay with this. I didn't pay the sort of money that you might think. In fact, I paid substantially less. So, could I say that I was always going to make money out of it? Well, I didn't buy it to make money. If you want the truth, I bought it because I like them. I like Dragon guitars. They're great. I never played the Dragon 3, which frustrated me terribly, so that's why I sold it. But this one, I've still got it. And let's have a run through where we're at today, here in 2024. Well, in 2009, it says here $16,000 it was worth. In 2011, $15,000 it was worth. In 2014, $13,000 it was worth, they say. In 2021, believe this or not, $8,500 was what the vintage guitar guys said it was worth. And, they're very clever people. Don't assume that they're not. They are. But believe it or not, where would you... Well, before you go ahead, I know you can carry on, but just pause the video and put down below what you think this Dragon 2002 is worth today. And bear in mind, it is absolutely pristine. So what would you think it's worth? Well, before I get to what it's worth today, according to Vintage Guitar, I'll tell you what I paid for it. I paid in pounds at the time, actually. It was about £8,000. And it was a fair old number of years ago. It was prior to this 2009. So it was a long time. I think it's maybe 2008 or 7 or... Time drifts like sand through your hands. But the fact is, it probably cost me less than $10,000 at that time. Yeah. So what's it worth today? Well, it's worth $25,000 according to Vintage Guitar magazine. And I have actually seen a very similar guitar to this one on the internet, as I did a little bit of research before I decided to record this video. And I've seen one at £28,000 in the UK. It's probably still there. Well, who knows? So regarding its value, and after all those adjustments and the rest, well, it would have made $15,000. But I'll call it 12 because there has been this inflation over the last couple of years or so. Where I could have made a bit of money had the money been in the bank and all the rest, but the money in the bank would not have been $25,000, I'll be pretty sure of that. So I'm going to equate this, instead of making $15,000, I'm going to say, which hasn't made anything because I haven't sold it, but I'm going to say that it made $12,000. Now I did have, to be fair, I did have a number of other guitars. I had a 2008 Fender American Strat on there. I had a Gibson Spotlight on there, if you know what one of them is, from 2000. I was also, I think, from 2008. And while I haven't found that guitar actually in Vintage Guitar today, I have found it on the internet for sale 2 or 3 times, sort of similar ones. And it was the Spotlight, the Gibson Spotlight. as I said, 2008. Picture of it over there now. And that guitar cost at the time about, I don't know, $3,500 equivalent. It was a custom shop job, but that was what I ended up paying for it. And what more can I say? But I have seen that guitar. They're very rare, by the way, and they're not the old one that's in here. But I have seen that guitar floating around at £12,000 and £13,000. Not a million years ago. So if we were to say, well, it's £12,000, that's about $15,000, say. So it's 15k minus 3.5. Well, 11,500. So if we call it 8,500 plus for that guitar. Yeah, that's a plus. And the last one I'm going to do today, and then I'll have a bit of a chat about what the findings are, is actually quite a common guitar. They sold millions of them, I'm absolutely sure. And that's an Ibanez Gem 7V white. It's a 7VWH. And I bought mine in 2001 or 2000, I think it was. It was the early part of when that guitar was being sold, and I happened to go along and grabbed it. Yeah, about 2000. Well, here are the details of that one, the Ibanez. And I'd have thought myself, my Ibanez is real good condition. I'd have thought, hey, this is going to make a lot of money on this one. I didn't buy it for making money. You need to understand this. In fact, I didn't really buy any of them to make money. I'm a collector, surely, but I'm a player as well, so I'm a bit picky. Yeah. Here we go, the Ibanez. 2009, it was worth $2,000. I didn't make much on that, did I? Well, I did. When I bought it, before we move on further along, when I bought it, I paid about £1,300. So I would have said that was about $1,550 to buy at that time. But bear in mind that in the UK there's 20% tax and all the rest, but that's, you have to include the figure because it's on everything. So in 2009 it was worth $2,000, so it had made $450 if there'd been no inflation. The inflation was low. 2011 it went up to $1,700. 2014 $1,750, hardly worth the effort, I would say. And 2021 it went up, well, sorry, yeah, it did go up. It went up back to where it was at $2,000 from 2009. So I wouldn't say that was a very good idea. Not at all. But here we are in 2024, and it's now got a sort of top book value of $2,500, which is probably correct for it, I would say. So what I'm going to do with that one, I'm going to say, well, it costs $1,550. It's worth $2,500. So you take one from the other, it's $950, I think. What's the calculator? Less something for inflation. So we'll say that it made $700 net. But that's $700 net for, well, 24 years. Now, we could look at that in a number of ways, of which we'll discuss in a little moment, but there's the example. Now, what I'm going to do before we move on is tot it all up. Okay, well, on my reckoning, not counting the PRS Dragon 3 that I don't have, that was gone years ago, counting the Gem 7V White, PRS Dragon 2002 and the Gibson Jimmy Page, my reckoning is, if I sold it, which I'm not, would be about $14,700, and I'll relate that at about 12k in pounds. £12,000. And I've had the benefit of playing these guitars for all them years that I've had them. That can't be bad, can it? Can it? Okay, just before we digress, I'm wanting to show you a few of the graphs that are in this book. And there's one of them. What this graph's actually about is all about the number of brands that are checked over and over by vintage guitar. Yeah, and as you will see, from 2001, it's gone up and up and up, and around the 2008 era, you can see there's a big spike, and that's probably something to do with the banks, and let's put some money in guitars rather than losing it at the banks. Yeah, probably that is the case. And then you can see it's been pretty flat from about 2012. It's gone along until it's got to really the end of 2021. That's what I would say. After the end of 2021, and we all know how bad that was, don't we? But that intervening period from about 2012 to 21, it was flat and it did not make money. None of it, really. Bumped along. But since 2021, as you see on that graph there, the rocket has been from 150% in 2001 to near enough, well, I'd call it 325 to 350% from 2001. And that was a 42 guitar index compared to a 3,000 guitar index. They've all sort of done their thing. And I think that's an interesting little graph, is that, because it shows you that, well, over the longer term, well, guitars could make money, although if you bought in 2012 and you sold in 2021, you'd be, well, peeved. And in this book, I recommend everybody buys one of these darn things, Official Vintage Guitar. This is the 2024 one. If it's still available, it might well be. Go and have a look on their website. It'll be down in the text. And by the way, I bought every book and nobody's paid me to say any of this, just before we go there. But they've got another graph, and I like this graph because this is another interesting one. And it's talking about the big 5 brand appreciations since 2001. And once again, it's an interesting document. From 2001, no % increase. We have that same spike in 2008, but actually Fender had the biggest spike or biggest gain, and that went up to 250% from the 2001 figure. Gibson was a very close second run at 200%, give or take. And then once you hit 2011, 2012, you've got this flat again until really towards the end of 2021. Well, they all rocket up through the roof again. And the number one winner again, weirdly, well, I won't say weirdly, is Fender. And the number 2 is Gibson. Closely followed by Rickenbacker and then Martin. And right down at the bottom there is Gretsch, or Gretsch, depends how you say it, but there it is. Those are the sort of 5 breadwinners that you could consider over that time, and that's, you know, that's 24 years. That's not 1 or 2 days, is it? We're going to be talking about Gibson Les Paul, a 1952 Telecaster, and a 1957 Strat, and the Les Paul's a 1959 Les Paul. So they're the 3 pieces of, well, some people would call them gold. But have they actually made money over that time? And how much money? And let's face it, something like a 59 Les Paul is big investment. Take you 300 grand and start there. Probably. Yeah, looking at this, yeah, you'd probably maybe going further than that. As you can see, the overall leader of that race of those 3 is in fact the 1959 Les Paul Burst. No ifs, no buts, no ahs. It's hundreds of % ahead of the other 2, the 52 Telecaster or the 57 Strat. Now, if you look at the 52 Telecaster or the 57 Strat, you've got that same thing from about 2012. It sort of levels until 2021 or towards the end of 2021. And then they sort of take on up from approximately, well, I would say about 200% of the cost in 2001. And by the end of well, by 2024, which is now, they're now on, well, about 350% of the original cost in 2001. So that's a 150% in 3 or 4 years increase. But the 1959 Les Paul Burst, well, that's another story. That's absolutely quite amazing. If you look at that, of course you've got a big investment at the beginning because people know about it. But since 2001, that climbed to 2008. That went 500% increase of its cost in 2001. Then there was a bit of a dip in 2009-10. It pulled back up to a similar sort of place. Took another dive until 2013. But in the time where most guitars, in fact, were flat, they were totally flat, this thing went from 500 to about, I'd say 680% by 2017-18. It then took another dip to about 550% of the 2001 value. But from there on, it's gone back up now, and we're now on, believe this or not, since 2001, it's on 900% increase against its 2001 cost. Well, there you have it. What can't speak, well, it could lie. But I don't think it has lied. I think they've got 24 years worth of data to look at there. And it doesn't matter how we look at it. The everyday guitar that I've got the good example might be the 7VWH. Didn't really do anything. Been a great guitar, and I wrote albums on that guitar, so I don't mind that. The Jimmy Page had upped itself back to where, well, I think it should be. It's a really good guitar, even though some people don't like the 95 version, but I do, so that's all that matters. And I think the Dragon 3, that's been a bit of a dismal experience. Not for me, but the people that do have them, and remember there's 100 about out there, coming back to $18,000 from being worth $20,000 in 2009 or thereabouts is a bit of a sad thing, and it goes a lot to show that you can't even judge. Something like a PRS Dragon 3, you can't judge that guitar will go up, down, or be indifferent. Whether it'll cost you money or it'll make you money. It's a real good example. Yeah, I lost quite a lot of money on it actually when I sold that. But I wasn't playing it, and that was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. But on this guitar, I do actually play it. I don't play it every day. One of the reasons is it's a bit heavier than some of the guitars I've got, but I do play it. I don't like the pickups in it so much. So let's maybe talk about the guitar for a few minutes. Yeah, why shouldn't we? We've covered all the costs and the rest, and you'll make your own mind up about these type of guitars, but don't tell me that you can't make money from doing that. And go and have a look at my previous video, because that video did actually cover it all at the time, and the way I saw it, most guitars were spiraling like this, horrible, over a lot of years as well. So go and compare that video to this video and see how these have changed over the years. I mean, this guitar literally was in 2022 worth $8,500. It's crazy. Let's have a look at this for a few moments. Now, a lot of you guys will know that I have reviewed this guitar before. No problem with that, and you can go and take a look at the review. It'll be down in the text somewhere. But for anybody that hasn't seen that, well, you can have a quick look at it now. But if you really want to see the whites of its eyes, and trust me, in that video you do, it might well be worth you going and taking a look at that. I'm going to sort of skim over a few things here. But in the real review, oh yeah, it covers everything. Absolutely everything. Yeah, so, well, let's take a look at the front. I think there's about 270 pieces of different, I don't know, shells or mammoth ivory or you name it. That's not the ivory that's current, by the way, some thousands of years ago. So no animal was killed in the making of the top. Remember that. Yeah, so this 270 or 280 type of pieces, you can imagine trying to do that, can't you? And one of the things that I liked about this one that wasn't on the Dragon 3, Dragon 3 had nearly everything on its neck. The Dragon went down the neck. And of course, in this one, well, it doesn't, does it? You can see it, it's everywhere. But the important thing is, if you like to see this sort of stuff, this top is carved. It isn't flat. So what they've got is they've got all this fitting in it to a carved top. And it's quite, well, pretty unique, I would say. Whether it is totally unique is another thing, but to me, that is a very impressive thing. And I like the way it sort of comes over the neck. So you've got the top of his snout there. Well, what else have we got? Let's move this over a bit. Well, what else we've got is usual sort of thing. I mean, I could almost call this a Les Paul, but I don't really want to argue with anybody. I could call it a Les Paul, couldn't I? Yeah, I'm sure I could. Yeah, well, it needs a ring there, don't it? Yeah, so you've got that switch there. You've got your normal strap lock type of, well, they're not locks, are they? Your strap buttons, should I say. And you've got this stop tailpiece down here. You can see it. It is what it is. The four knobs are exceedingly similar to Gibson, no matter what anybody will tell you. But this thing here, well, once again, it's exceedingly similar to Gibson. What more could I say? This guitar has pickups known as PRS 7s, and they're not my favourite by any means. And these particular ones, if you look at them, they've started to go a bit dull, as they do nickel sort of. They look like nickel to me. They sort of fade over time, and you can see them there if you look. It's a sort of dullish sort of thing. Yeah, it has been played, but not particularly getting loads of sweat on them and things like that. That's just the way it's gone. Me, I'd like to whip them out and fit in a set of those, yeah, well, PRS calls them metal pickups. PRS's idea of metal, well, they're still working on that. But it's a lot better than what you've got here in these 7s. So the 7s, it says very often, oh, they're an uncommon, rare set of pickups. And you can see why they're rare. Yeah, they're not very good. Well, that's just me. Let's have a look what else we've got. Back of this thing's got a very, very slight cutout. I won't bother showing you. It's totally boring and useless. I don't know why they didn't do a better job of that. But there you go. It's not supposed to be a Les Paul, is it? And then we come to this neck, right? Yeah. Brazilian rosewood. Now, I didn't buy this guitar new. Somebody bought it new. And here it is in the UK. Now, there's a lot of ifing and ahhing about Brazilian rosewood, and quite rightly, you know, it fetches ridiculous amounts of money these days. And then you've got the CITES thing going on. This wood actually came off furniture. And you'll probably see a picture on screen now where you can see a line across the back of the wood, back of the headstock, where actually it's been joined together because the piece of wood they used for the neck from reclaimed furniture wasn't long enough. That's one of the reasons you know that this is the case. It's sort of hard to see, hard to describe, should I say, rather than see. You can see it, but most people wouldn't know what it is, and PRS never talked about that. Well, I'm not surprised about that. PRS doesn't talk about most things except what they want to. Yeah. So there it is. Yeah, the headstock's got its locking tuners from the basically the 2002 period. We've got some gold adjusters on there, and it's just off camera, but it doesn't really matter. Doesn't make much difference at all, really. So there it is, and this one happens to be number 6 out of 100. Yeah, I think Santana had one. I think this was number 57 or something like that. In fact, it's on my website where I do talk all about the Santana one and mine, and do a few comparisons and stuff like that. So you might want to have a whip across to, https://TonyMcKenzie.com, where you'll find some real useful information about this guitar. Or all of these guitars, because they're all pretty much the same. There's very little difference between any of them. And I guess that's one of the reasons why they've shot up to this $25,000 or £28,000 in the UK. It's another story. Anyway, that's it, the basis of the guitar. I'm not going to go into any more depths about that thing. However, one of the things I did want to talk about is, well, is it really worth the money? Put down below what you think, whether it's really worth the money, that it's gone from $8,500 in 3 years to $25,000. We'll call it $16,000 gain, give or take. But is it? Well, you know, the thing about all these figures that I talk about and what these guys talk about, and I'm not saying they're not very clever guys, because they are. There's a whole team of people that arrive at these figures from what they see in the business. But that money's only made when it's sold. No, not when you put it up there on, I don't know, Reverb or on eBay or wherever you sell it. It's not sold. That's not the profit you've made, because you haven't made anything. You've only made money when it's actually been sold and paid for. Very important aspects of selling, that is. You see a lot of sales types of guys who'll tell you, oh, I'll make this money. Yeah, they haven't made anything. You've only made money when it's sold and paid for. Do you understand that? Now, if you like looking at stuff like I do, you probably do, because you've been here probably all the time. Seen you hiding behind that speaker cab over there. Yeah, why don't you subscribe? You've got nothing to lose. Yeah, subscribe. Do that thumbs up thing. Helps the channel. I get frustrated and don't do any more. It won't be my loss. I don't even care about the money. and tink that ding, you know, ding the bell, so to speak. Don't smash it. That's, you know, nasty. What, the evil owl will come and get you? Well, you might. Yeah, don't smash the bell. Just ding it nicely, as you should. And then you'll get a few notifications when I post something. I mean, it's been probably 2 or 3 weeks since I last posted, so you're not going to get 10,000 out of me like them other boys that get everything sent to them for free. It doesn't work like that. And even if I did get something free, which is about once every 50 or 60 reviews, maybe. Yeah, if it's not very good, I'll say so. So that's the rundown, how I found it here in 2024. It's March. We'll call it April the 1st. No, we hadn't better do that. People think I'm making something up. Actually, it's the 24th of March, 2024. And those were my findings from this vintage guitar and all the other ones since 2009, which is a lot of books. They're all stacked up in the shelf. Hope you've liked this one. And if I feel like playing this, I might just grab a track and play something. Whether it's fast and dragonish or laid back is another story. I don't know. It won't be on this video, it'll be on another video if I do it, so yeah. Hope you've enjoyed this one. Very interesting to me. I've really enjoyed coming and having another look at where we are from where I actually made the other video. Don't forget to go and look at that one as well, because it's a very interesting video. So until next time, get out of here. And then we come to this neck, right? Yeah. Brazilian rosewood. Now, I didn't buy this